Okay, hello, התבוננות, Jewish psychology. Today we want to talk about despair, how to overcome despair. What is despair, where despair comes from, and why despair is such a negative, it's not emotion, but a perspective that we are adopting. There are a lot of there are few negative emotions that we can arouse in our soul, like anger, like sadness, depression. And there are also perspective. Perspective, I mean, the way we look, we see reality. When I'm a victim, it's a perspective. It's a glasses through them, I see reality. And when I'm a victim, that means I see reality in a place that I cannot change things. And I ask myself, why things happens to me like that? Why I am the victim over here? Why it happened to me? But one of the worst perspectives, one of the worst, let's call it a movement in the soul, a movement in our mind, is despair. Despair, it's one of the worst, and it's arouse a lot of emotions, like negative emotions. Why? Despair, it's one of the worst perspectives that we can adopt because of the prices that we are paying when we let ourselves getting into despair. And when I mean despair, there are so many areas in our lives that we let ourselves get into despair, like I'm despair, I'm broken. I met someone that said to me, I'm in a crisis. I saw him eating, eating without stopping eating, and he ate everything, and he was like, he lost weight, he looked good a year ago, and now he is in a crisis. When he said to himself, I'm in a crisis, he allowed himself to eat everything. Like, okay, you are in crisis, catch yourself, overcome, believe that you can change, walk forward. You are falling, but now wake up, stand up. You fall once, stand up tomorrow or in the next hour. Don't be in a place that you allow yourself to fall every minute again and again and again without stopping this way down. Stop it. And we said, a huge price of despair. Despair in every area in our life. When I'm despair from my marriage, what do I mean when I say I despair for my spouse? I mean that I'm not ready to overcome it, to invest, to do things, to change reality. I'm despair means, what is despair means? I do not believe, I do not have any hope that I can change things, that changing things are in my hand. It's not in my hand anymore. That's why I'm despair. I cannot do anything more. And you can see, even in the political arena, people from the left and from the right are always despair. They're saying, whoa, in Israel, now everyone are despair. I'm despair because things does not go in my direction, and I do not believe that I can change things. And despair, we said before, it's the worst. It's the worst perspective, the worst inner movement that we can adopt. Why? Why and how can we overcome despair? This is our question for today, and that's what we are trying to answer, because we are in the middle of the holiday of Pesach, of Passover, and one of the most important of getting out of Egypt, my inner things that blocks me, that doesn't let me change my life and overcome things and see myself differently and believe in myself, is the despair. So why is despair? What are the characteristics of despair? Let's start from the beginning. I saw a beautiful letter of the Lubavitcher Rebbe that wrote to someone that said, I'm in despair. I don't believe in myself. I lost hope. I'm in sadness and bitterness. And he's writing to him, despair, it's one of the most trickiest things that the evil inclination, in Jewish thought, the evil inclination, it's a part of the animalistic soul that we have in us. It's like one of the most trickiest and very, very cunning ways to take you to push you not to do what you have to do. What happens to me when I'm despair? I say to myself, I'm not ready to do anything more. It's like I give up. I raise hand. And so despair, it's like a tricky perspective that the evil inclination, the bad inclination that we have in us, that the worst side in us say to us, no, Don't bring any more effort to the table. Don't sweat anymore. Don't try. Don't walk the hard way. Why? Why we are getting into despair? Now we understand the reason. Because it's very hard to change things. Reality is built broken. Like reality is never complete. There is something in reality, always there is something in reality that waits for our mission, for our act, for us to do something in reality in order to rectify it. And if we do not rectify reality, if we are in despair, we do not do what we have to do. We do not put our input in reality. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe is writing to this person that got into despair that the Alter Rebbe was the founder of the Chabad movement, and he wrote at chapter 27 in the Tanya, in its monumental book, he wrote that when two are fighting together, one against each other, and one is stronger, but even though he is stronger, is weak in his mentality and is in sad mood. He is sad and bitter a little bit and lazy. He will lose even though that he is stronger than the other. And we can see that easily when we have two countries that we are fighting. If we in Israel will lose the belief in that we are right, that we have all the right to live here, and we will lose the belief in ourselves. We will lose. Why? Because then despair gets penetrated into your life. And when the despair is penetrating, it will weaken you. You can see that in every day, our inner battle, when I'm in a sad mood, when I feel like a bit of depression, or something that I do not, nothing is going as I wanted, then what is happening to me? I'm so weak. Every mail that I get, it's like against me, and I feel that everything is collapsing, even though nothing is collapsing. You just got a mail that somebody is not satisfied from what we are doing, but it's not that everything is collapsing. Don't exaggerate. But we have this tendency, when I let despair to control me, to think that I cannot change things anymore, and everything is about to collapse. And if sadness will lead you to lose, despair is worse in several of, it's a lot more worse thing, an habit to embrace in our life. So despair, it's like, why is it, from Jewish perspective, from Orthodox Jewish perspective, it's not, it's forbidden to adopt despair. Why? What's the inner reason? Why? What's the reason? If I am in despair, I believe that this moment, let's start from another point. One of the most core perspective in Judaism is that the creation is being created every moment. It's not like the Creator created the world million years ago or 5,085 years ago. He is now creating the world, any moment anew. And if he's creating this moment for you, he's like creating it for you in order that you will rectify what you have to rectify. And rectifying is a part of you discovering your inner attributes, your inner powers. And if you do not do that, and if you do not believe that you can change things, you say, what do? You kick the Creator out of your world, and you say, no, there is no place for him here because I'm despair. He is not a part of what is happening. He's not a part of this life. What is going on is exceeding the words of the Creator. And that's why it is written in the Jewish, our sages are writing, even if a sword is on the neck of a person, it should not be in the mode of despair. It should not be he will always believe that things could change to the positive way. Why? Because the Creator is good. And is want to do good. And if things are not going in the right direction, there are several of reasons why. And sometimes it's because of your perspective. Sometimes it's also a beautiful letter that I saw that somebody wrote to Lubavitcher Rebbe. I feel that I need a flashlight that will show me the way in the darkness. And the rabbi is writing for him. If you will look closely, you will see that the road is not so dark. It's like you are closing your eyes. Your world, your life, your relationship, whatever you are going through, it's not so dark. And it's not dark because you can change. It's it's everything in your consciousness. And if you can change your point of view, you can overcome despair. And one of the worst things that we can bring to our family, to our children, is despair. In a letter from August 1940, look at the date, 1940. It's just before, it's in the middle of the Second World War II, and right before the Holocaust. It's like a few months before the real assassination, killing, murdering, mass murdering, whatever you'll like to describe it, started. The killing of the mass murdering of 6 million Jews. The sixth Lubavitcher Rebbe, the Rabbi Arayatz, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak, is writing, we have to be very careful not to bring home and not to speak near to our children in a way, in a perspective that like everything is black and everything is collapsing and we cannot change reality. Think about it. Few months before he lost all his disciples that were in Europe, and he lost his daughter, and before he went to United States, and he's writing, when you say to someone that it's all black and we cannot change everything and everything is collapsing, he stops believing in himself. And not only he stops believing in himself, he does not have any more motivation to make a change in reality. He said, okay, leave it like that. And from here, it's very easy to go to actions and to do things that were very, that there are lawlessness, there are lack of content, they are taking you down. Things that, okay, if everything is black, so let me do whatever I like. I don't want to improve myself. I don't need to improve myself. I don't need to bring value to the world. I don't need to be a person that has values. I don't need it because everything is collapsing. And it's the worst thing that you can bring to your children. And when a person is, I'm not talking on 1940. I'm thinking about everyday life. You're getting back home and you have a bit of economical problems. And you're getting back, you didn't make the money that you want. We are getting back and now we are getting into our home and we start to paint everything like it is black. And it fills us and our home with blackness, with despair. And this despair kills the souls of our children. I met this week two persons called me. One was about 27, 28, and he had a hard life. Everything in his life was hard. It was like, I can't even start describing how hard his life was, and he's living in the street, and he had problems with his parents, and they kicked him out of his house when he was 16, and his father was in jail, and he suffered from whatever you can think about. Then, and he told me, it's very hard for me. It's very complicated. I'm suffering from I'm confusing, and I'm like trying to overcome it, Now, another person called me a few minutes later, and he is a rich guy. He made his money. He did. He succeeded with startup, and he sold it, and he made a lot of money, and he built a 10 million shekels house, like it's something in dollars, I think, $2-3 million dollars house, beautiful in front of the sea. And everything, and he has a beautiful wife and children, and everything is beautiful home, and still he's suffering. He's saying everything is black, black, black. Why everything is black? Nothing happened. And if you go through his life, everything was white. Everything happened like in the book. He has beautiful, great parents that gave him everything and taught him how to navigate through hardship in life. Still, is feeling that is in despair. He does not know how to overcome his difficulties, his inner difficulties. What do we try to say? It's a very natural movement, tricky way of thinking to adopt despair. It's like a perspective that waits for us without even, when even it is not connected to the external occasions, things that happens. I do not need that something bad will happen to adopt despair. When somebody is in depression, you tell to him, okay, I know things in whatever you wanted, and you do not influence in the road you wanted, does not go as you wanted. But still, you have so many things, kind things to look at. You have so many beautiful things in your life to adopt, to see. Why don't you emphasize the good, the light, the positive things in your life? Why do you emphasize the negative one? And it's very hard for him to give an answer. It's very hard for him because he's concentrating on the black, on the despair. So despair, what the despair does to us, it's like an excuse not to do. And here we can understand, as we said before, why we, not people, it's so easy to adopt despair, because to make this change in reality, in unrectified world, to rectify the world, it's like sometimes it's a process, sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes I have to see reality in a different way. Sometimes I don't want to. There are a lot of reasons why it is not easy, but still, at the end, it's like, it's a process that I need to do. And because it's hard to me, I'm getting into despair. Like despair, it's a shortcut to not to do things, not to work hard, not to believe that I can change things. And it's not only that, it's also minimize the amount of liveliness that I bring for myself to my body. It's like, I minimize the animation of the soul to the body, because I do not believe that I can change things. The Rabbi Nachman of Breslev is writing beautifully in his Likutei Moharan, in his beautiful book. He's writing that the most important rule, that a person should not despair himself and should not despair his surrounding. Why? Even if he's in very low place, he should always stick to something positive. Even if you believe you did so many bad things in your life, and you cannot change it. When you are in despair, you do not adopt one of the most important notions in Judaism, the repentance, the tshuva, the ability to change things, to be in another place, to change the way I see things, to change the way I am, to be a new creation, a new human being, and I can do that every moment. That's the most positive perception that we can extract out of this endless creation, out of the fact that the creation, that we are being created every moment again. What is the positive notion that we can extract out of it? That we can also change ourselves every moment again and again. And if we do not do that, we are losing the best opportunity that we got in this life. And it's like, and if I'm allowing myself to be in despair, it shows, it reflects that I'm not really connected to the thing that I need to do. So what should we do? First thing, stop dealing with yourself. This is the best advice. Stop doing like a count. Am I all right? Am I not all right? Can I change things? Do what you need to do. Adopt, embrace the first step that you should do tomorrow. Second thing, try to see where does this despair comes from. If the thoughts, despair, it's thoughts, oh, wow, things are going bad, I cannot change it, I'm going through a bad year, everything is going to go bad, everything will be bad, I do not believe that I have the possibility to change things. And think if it causes you not to create anymore, if I don't believe in myself, despair, it's part of not believing in myself, then despair, it's the great excuse. Doesn't matter. Nobody will listen to me. Why should I invest in uploading a new lesson? There is no reason. But if I'm not in despair, I believe that everything that I'm doing, everything and nothing was ordered, nothing was written from the beginning. It is written and I cannot change it. No, I can change everything in this reality. And then to see, it's one of the best, I think, advices, to look backward on Jewish sages and Jewish leaders, the way they acted when they went through hardship, hard times. And think about Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva was one of the most important, prominent sages in the Jewish history. Everything in the Talmud, it's like according to Rabbi Akiva, and he lost 24,000 students that he had in 49 days, from Passover until Shavuos. He lost in 50 days, almost 50 days, 24,000 pupils that he had. What he did? First, he smiled. He believed that he can change things, that he can correct things. And then he took another five students, and he taught them everything he knew. He started everything from the beginning. And even we spoke about the sixth Lubavitcher Rebbe, the Rabbi Arayatz, when he was in 1949, 1950, his last word after he went through the Holocaust. And he himself succeeded to run away from the Holocaust, but as we said before, he lost all of his disciples, Chassidim, members of this movement, his daughter. And even though most of his disciples he went through the horrifying period of the Soviet Union that didn't allow Jewish life to take place, and he suffered from bad health all his life. Even though he went through all of those things, he concluded his life. He said, his last article was, "I came to my garden, like the God came to his garden, and this world is a garden. You must be optimistic that you can change the world and you can bring it to a better place." Okay, Jewish contemplation. We are trying to upload. In Hebrew, we are uploading every day. In English, we are now, we are trying to do it better and more and more. You're more than welcome to help us. And that means to subscribe to our channel so it will grow and we will have more motivation. Thank you, and see you at the next contemplation.